Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be making this Motherhood is a Walk in the Park tumbler, and I'm going to use a 24-ounce ball mason jar. They're called asparagus jars. You can find them in the canning section of Walmart or wherever. And I started a little differently. I sanded and then added a coat of epoxy before I painted it, just to smooth the words out and stuff. And I painted it with Rust-Oleums 2 times. Ultra matte. It's called Coastal Sage is the color. After about 30 minutes, the paint had dried and I put on a thin coat of Mod Podge. It needs to be pretty thin and as even as possible. Once the cup was fully covered in the Mod Podge, I went in heavy-handed with a mix of blue and green glitter. It's just kind of a custom mix that I made. I'm just tapping the bottom into the glitter that had fallen on the paper, and then I'm pouring the glitter back into the cup so I can recoat it. You want to make sure that tumbler is coated super well, because it will show through if you don't have spots covered with glitter. And I only like to use Mod Podge on single color cups because it really doesn't have a long enough working time to do ombres or other things like that. I made sure that the glitter and Mod Podge was super dry before I moved on to the technically second coat, but it's really the first coat of epoxy over the glitter. And I just mixed 30 milliliters of KSResin liquid art epoxy, and I just put it right over the glitter without brushing off or sealing it. If you're using multiple colors of glitter, you really want to dry brush the glitter off and or seal it with a spray sealer or urethane or something like that, because if you put the epoxy over the raw glitter, it will move the colors around quite a bit. But since this is a single color, I just went ahead and epoxied over the raw glitter. This layer of epoxy needs to be as smooth as possible because we're going to spray paint over it. If there's any minor imperfections or anything, the spray paint will amplify it. I'm just dressing this cup after I paint it, so I'm not super worried about it, but it does need to be a pretty smooth layer. I'm running my finger along pretty close to the edge just to make sure all that epoxy gets right up to the edge and you get good coverage. Remember, anytime you're working with epoxy, you want to use proper PPE. Make sure you're wearing a respirator and using gloves. You don't want the epoxy to come in contact with your skin, and you do not want to inhale any of the vapors. Make sure you're working in a very well ventilated area. Once you've got your cup completely coated, you can go ahead and torch it to get out any of the bubbles. And you want to let this dry really dry. I know that sounds crazy, but I usually wait overnight. You don't want this to be tacky even in the slightest, because it will ruin the cup whenever you go to peel the stencils up and the paint can smear and stuff. I've already cut and weeded the decal I'm going to be using, and I'm just going to smooth down my transfer tape over the decal with a vinyl tool, a felt tip smoothing. I don't really know what this is called, and then I'm going to peel the backing away from the decal. That's the easiest way to remove the backing from the decal, is to remove the backing. Do not try to lift the decal off the backing. It's never going to be as easy. I'm going to place the decal on the cup, just eyeballing it, and I'm going to smooth all the edges down really, really well and make sure it's adhered to the tumbler really well. These decals are acting as a reverse stencil, sort of, so any spot that the vinyl is, it'll be showing glitter at the end. And since we're spray painting over these decals, if there's any spots that aren't adhered really well, the spray paint can kind of seep under and you won't get those really crisp lines. And for these decals, you can use any color of vinyl that you have that you're not going to use for anything else. You're just really using them as stencils, like I said, so it doesn't matter. They're not going to be part of the cup. It doesn't matter what color they are. Oracle makes a stencil material that you can use if you want. I just use 631 or 651, whichever I want to have more colors of that I'm not going to use. I know with my awesome camera skills, it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing, but these are the claw marks, like faux dinosaur claw marks, and I'm just hand placing those wherever I see fit on the cup. Off camera, I sprayed it with 2 light but even coats of Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Matte in white, and now I'm going to go ahead and remove the stencils. I let the paint dry for about an hour. I wanted to make sure it was super, super dry. And I'm just using a homemade weeding tool. It's a mechanical pencil with a sewing needle stuck in the end of it, like a hand sewing needle. And I wanted to point out right here, you can kind of see where the epoxy wasn't super smooth. That's glitter. And those are the imperfections I was talking about that show through. I wasn't too worried about it on this cup because, like I said, I am going to be distressing it, but I just wanted to show you what I was talking about with you want your epoxy super smooth. This next part is going to get a little messy. You take some 100% acetone and remove the spray paint. You can use cotton balls or whatever you see fit. I'm just using paper towels, but the paint will kind of smear all over the place, but it's going to be totally fine. We'll clean it up later with some 91% isopropyl alcohol. And some people do 2 different colors of spray paint, so when they remove the top color, the bottom color kind of shows through. I just wanted to use 1 layer on this cup. I really wanted the glitter to be the star of the show. I'm just going around all the edges and any of the large chunks of white and just taking off some of that paint to give it some character kind of, and just break up the blockiness that the white can have. And I'm just using my paper towel. I think I've gone through about 3 at this point. But now that I have the spots to where I kind of want them, I'm going to go in with the 91% alcohol and clean up all that smeared paint. This is strong enough to clean up the paint that's already come off, but it won't take off too much more of the paint that's adhered to the cup really well. And once you're happy with how it looks, you can go ahead and add your final layer of epoxy. I used about 30 milliliters here. It was a little much, but I like to go a little heavy-handed on final coats just to make sure it's thick enough. And you just spread it all over super even and then torch it at the end to remove any bubbles. And this is the final look. I love the way this turned out so much. I initially made it to sell, but I'm probably going to end up keeping it. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you'll stick around and subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up. Thanks. Bye.